again, welcome everyone at the session called Let's Write Secure Drupal Code. Don't worry, you don't need computer, you will not write it, but we will do it together. First of all, I'd like to present myself. Who am I? I'm Balázs. I'm a Hungarian guy living in Brussels for about 5 years, working with Drupal since 2007. And currently I have lots of roles. Mainly what I would highlight in this session is being a provisional member at the Drupal security team and also being a so-called Secos dreamer. I like to dream a lot at the Secure Open Source Day, which is security awareness event series. So let's start with, I'd like to see all your hands who love Drupal Camp Spain. Great. Sorry, have I told you to put it down? Because I want to see who are site builders. Like, you know, building sites, clicking all around Drupal. Let me see. Okay. Are we in a WordCamp? Like WordPress stuff? No? Okay. So there were not so many, but still, let's see a demo. Because we talk about security, it's quite important to understand one of the basic issue that we face with, which is cross-site scripting. We all know that, right? Like when there is a pop-up saying like in an alert, wrapped in a script tag saying like XSS or something bad happened. But the thing is, we always think about only like this, how a simple pop-up can happen in a website. So like, let's do that. Script, alert, XSS, and let's close it. Okay? So when I save it, I see the XSS. Such a great thing, yeah? But the XSS is basically not only like this. Whatever you, site builders, devs, DevOps, business owner do with the site, clicking around, I can do exactly the same by code. So if I just do that, you think about XSS is not that serious, right? But if I just do something nasty, I will see nothing. Okay, the XSS pop-up is still there. But that message that I just put there should be visited by an admin who has the right to do that. So if we go to the test article, okay, he sees the XSS, and we don't see anything else that might have happened, right? But when the previous visitor or anyone visits the website, it's basically gone, right? This is also XSS. I just put there JavaScript, and I made the whole entire website down. Not physically, so I didn't target the server infrastructure, but just change the website. It's not the best, right? But also, content can be changed. Let's put the website back to a sort of normal state. Like, where is it? So long time ago I did that.
Maintenance mode?
Maintenance mode?
Yeah, they're just, nope.
Oh, yeah, like go online. Great. Thanks. So also, let's remove that comment, because it's gonna cause everything, like going back again. But I also can change content by the same practice. Even though we are on Drupal 7, you might think it's only Drupal 7, right? No, it's the same in Drupal 8. So here is another snippet that I just put there, which will change that also on the written lorem ipsum, like this one. Again, not filtered, but full HTML. Okay, if I go and visit that content, not this one, but the other one, it's super simple Drupal vanilla, so nothing, okay, yeah, here. So nothing has been changed, just wrongly configured. Here is the content, and here is the new content, yeah. Anyway, you get the message. if I do the same, just like on a Drupal 8 instance, this is Drupal 8, I can do exactly the same. I'm only going to show you the alert thingy now, because it doesn't really require any segments. I put it to full, I save it, and bam. What we call out of this is basically not necessarily an XSS, but a security misconfiguration. What we did is just one issue that we exploited and made the whole website, for instance, turning down, right? I'd like to see who are devs and maintainers even on Drupal.org for contrib modules. See some hands? Okay. There are many, great. There is another question. Have you attended ever before on a session which is called like this? And you don't see anything. Great. Thanks. You see some nasty Hungarian text. And I don't see the mouse, which is gone. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, it's not.
Great, where?
It's
Okay, anyway, I clicked and it worked. Have you attended ever on this type of series? Anyone? Oh, great. Great, wow, okay. So basically that's number 8. When I give this session, you can see the previous ones. What matters and why I show this nice old guy is basically one of his sayings. So insanity is when you do the same thing over and over again, or just I do, but you expect different results. The thing is, I don't do again and again always the same slides. So I always put there different content, just to practice a little bit how we can increase our overall quality, security quality on the website. Let's start with some trends that we have globally on the web. So the Open Web Application Security Project, called OWASP, from time to time releases a so-called top 10 list, which represents the most serious and the most occurred issues all over the web. What is like 6 years ago, 2013, basically the first 3, more or less, was the same, just like now, or let's say the first 2. But there are new issues 2 years ago when they released the new top 10, such as the external entities injection, XXE. There are some that got merged. The reason why I'm showing this slide is to be aware. Next year or the year after, we might have other issues, new ones. Attackers never sleep, or yeah, hopefully they sometimes sleep, but they are sleeping less than we do. So we have to keep up that job that we do to secure all the websites. Do you remember the demo? It was not necessarily just an XSS, but also a security misconfiguration, as I said before. The thing is, it's already A6, so it's quite often happen on your website when you just mistakenly set, for instance, the full HTML filter, text filter, and given it to anonymous, which please do not do ever. So that was a wrong example. Do not follow that practice, okay? What we have vulnerabilities in Drupal field, it's a fairly old screen, but still just the percentage, how many XSS we find as security researchers scanning all Drupal contribs, even core. It's like half of all the issues, right? That's why we are going to talk a lot about XSS. And also there are SQL injection, arbitrary code execution, recently quite a lot, information disclosure, even access bypass, and we will talk almost all of them a little bit later. Let's start with the XSS, okay? So how we can define cross-site scripting. It's basically a client-side vulnerability when an unfiltered output is present on the website. So when you allow anything to go to your database, for instance, forget Drupal, but like anything that you store, that doesn't matter for executing an XSS. But when you put that piece of text to your output, then you have to always filter it. If it's unfiltered, then anything can be visible, and browsers most probably will execute it. So the recommendation here is basically a very generic one. Never trust any user inputs. And also we have seen the demo before. In Drupal 7, because I want to cover the two major Drupal supported Drupal cores. In Drupal 7, we had different check whatever functions, such as check URL, plain, or markup. But in the end of the day, if it runs filter XSS, then we are good. The reason why there is like that going down diagram is to make you sure always you have to be aware what is the type of the text that you are filtering to the output. So first start with URLs. Imagine that text can have any types of URLs, because URLs always start with a protocol, HTTP, HTTPS, or some nasty ones. So if your text will have, or potentially can have, any URLs, use always check URL. That's the best. Then going a little bit down, saying it's a plain text, but can have some things that has to be filtered out. Then go for check plain. Then if it's a rich text, such as HTML is present, then use check markup. But if we just go crazy and HTML, then always use filter XSS. Otherwise, if you are 100% or at all above 100 trusted for your text, because it's like generated by yourself, then you are just okay to put it to outside. In Drupal 8, we got the twig, which is great, right? In twig, all the check things are gone, and we got three basic methods, such as coming from the HTML, which is an escape for plain texts, and also the XSS class has two, filter and filter admin. Filter admin is basically the one that you should use when you are putting texts on an admin interface, right? Okay, you might have wondered why you got lots of papers at your seats. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough for this size of room, so the very last, like 2 or 3 rows, you didn't get, but please either move forward or just get a few cards, because we are going to use them. So I'm going to show you code snippets. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of them, putting them to a context, and then I'm going to wait for your cards. If you think the code is perfect, it doesn't have any chance to be exploited, there is no vulnerability, then please show the green. If you think there are some issues, how it can be exploited, then show me a red one, okay? Let's start with this. It's a Drupal 7 code. It's a field formatter view, nothing super interesting. We are using markup as a type for putting the outside, or building up the output, and the markup has, don't do that like this, but still can have an img tag where the source comes from an src and the alt comes from value alt. Okay, do you get the code, right? Is there any problem with it? Okay, it seems there are. Ooh, okay. Anyone believes it's just okay? No one, great. Because it's red, of course. What could go wrong, by the way? João?
You're not filtering out the output, so if you somehow manage to put JavaScript in either the src value or the alt value, and you terminate the image tag, then you can open script, and then you're free to execute just about anything.
Are you fully sure src and alt are like this? Only src. Because we use different filters here. That's another technique. So to use it as a green one, or to make it unvulnerable, use always the @ character, because it always filters. So that's why the alt is not vulnerable in this case. But great. Let's see another one. It's again a Drupal 7, okay? We are doing some kind of TPL file, if you still remember. And we are building up, again, do not do it like this, use the L function, right? But we are building up an A tag with having a $URL variable that we want to print out and using check URL on it. What do you think about it? Okay, I see a green. More greens. You are still hesitating, very good. There is a red. Just because he showed the red? No, you also believe it's red. Okay. There is another red. Great. Yeah, unfortunately it's green. The thing is, maybe you can explain what could have gone wrong.
Well, that URL can be something malicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but...
It is still URL, but it's linking somewhere bad. And it's A tag, and people just transfer A tags.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, when we use in Drupal 7 check URL, it passes check plain, check markup, and in the end filter XSS. So it basically filters everything out that is malicious. So if you use check URL here, that's basically the best idea. If we could have chosen check plain, then obviously it's shining red, because there can be a URL. But if we use the top part, like check URL, then we are just filtering everything out, like bad protocols or malicious ones. So let's agree it's green, okay? Here comes the next one. It's Drupal 8 already, so we all love Drupal 8, right? It happens somewhere, regardless of where, but we are going to get some content where we are asking for the body field. Imagine that body field is like rich text, right? And getting its value, then we are going to put it outside with a something custom theme that doesn't really matter. What can go wrong, if anything, here? Okay, now I see eyes like really thinking, great. Let me see some cards. What do you think, like, for the first? Is it green? It can be okay, or there can be some issues. That's where usually the whole audience is like so confused. Which one should I use? Okay, I see the confusion. Great. So, both of them. That was really great. Like, I don't know. Just let me go away. Don't bother me. Great. So, okay. I only see a few green ones. I see there very strongly a red one. Great. It is red. The thing is, because we ask for the content, which is a rich text, in Drupal 8, we also use something else. So the problem here is with the get, because we are just blindly getting that value. Instead of doing this, we should use the processed text, which is a fairly new thing in Drupal 8. Most of the people might never heard about it, right? Because processed text format filter allows us to use the format that was set on the user interface. So if it's a full HTML, then the whole part in Drupal core will manage what can go out. Or if it's another, like filtered or plain or basic or whatever you created, then it will be processed. But overall, I think it's a very good job that you do, even though being like, okay, both of them, right? How we can make sure our website is protected. So basically, I think Peter would be just really happy to hear everywhere behat, right? Like automated tests, behaviors. Let's go crazy. Just the easy ones. Test all your fields with those two examples that I'm given there, with a script and with an img tag, because those usually cover like 95%, I would say, of the cases. If anything, I mean, out of those two will pop up an alert, then you can be triggered by behat and saying, in that scenario, I am failing. So automated tests are just great. But we also should check always the filters that we are setting up, putting it to configuration, and also the user roles, what we are allowing them. And also, please do not give too many options to untrusted user roles. The thing is, you might consider, or your business considers, authenticated users, for instance, as a trusted role, because there is like a multi-factor authentication that might increase your overall security on the website. But still think twice, think 3 times or millions, because not all business requirements saying a trusted user role is really a trusted one from your perspective as a developer. Let's go further. There is the access bypass. The thing is, when you allow anything to be done by a user which he or she shouldn't be allowed to do, then we talk about access bypass. For instance, menu items can be vulnerable by this issue, saying that item is allowed to everyone, even though it should be protected. Or that item is allowed to given user roles, even though not all of them are considered trusted, right? But in Drupal we have many access systems, such as node, entity, field, views, and you can go down even to the deepest levels, like database. And saying all of these access systems, if they are properly configured and properly written, then you might not meet access bypass issues. Let's see some code again. Here comes the first. Imagine it's Drupal 7. We could write fairly similar thing in Drupal 8 as well, because yeah, node table is still present somehow, so we still have content, but this code is vulnerable or not if you just meet it in a custom code base. So imagine there is that DB select that asks all the articles and put out the title and the node ID of them, and the result will be just thrown to the output regardless of where it is. So it can be admin interface or public one. What could go wrong here, if anything? Let me see some cards. What do you think? Okay, there is a red. There is multiple red. Thanks. There are only red. Very good. So it's red. Yes. Let me ask someone from over there. My eyes are not the best. So if anyone could say what could go wrong here, why you chose red? And also my ears are not the best, so a little bit louder.
You're not checking the permissions. A user, you're showing all the nodes, and they are not published yet.
That's a very good idea to filter unpublished. What I would say, yes, definitely the issue is there. So we are missing here something. I wouldn't go for checking only the status of a node, but I would go a little bit more crazy using the node access system as a tag. You can just put there that tag and it will trigger everything in your code base and will make sure only the people, only the users who have access to that based on the status or based on other conditions will see those contents. Wow. Okay, here's another one, and we are speeding up, it seems. So we see a not found URL where basically we give access to everyone as a requirement. It's Drupal 8. Green, red. No one knows. Red. Wow. Okay. Why? What could go wrong here? Saying it's a page not found and we are just throwing it to everyone.
I would say that at least with the permission of access content or something like that.
So the people who don't have access to all the contents which are published shouldn't see a 404 page. That's what you mean. I wouldn't say that. So like a 404 page, like something is not found should be thrown to everyone, right? Let's agree on that. Okay. So how we can protect our sites, like basically checking all node ID URLs. Let's try to visit all URLs that has a parameter like /node. Again, use behat. again use menu definitions, setting them up properly with user permissions, or even calling user access directly. The last example or last topic is the SQL injection. Even the cats know what is that. Like 5 years ago there was that SA Core 2014-005. You might have heard about it as Drupalgeddon 1. It was a highly critical, it got exploited fairly fast, and lots of systems just failed. So basically what we are going here is to show you another snippet saying, I again lost my mouse, okay, here we are, saying we are concatenating something nasty where parameters are the field and the table, and we are just throwing it away as DB query allows. Red, right? Yeah, I see the first red, other ones as well. Okay, here basically not the DB query is necessarily the issue, but we are not filtering the parameters. Otherwise, it could be okay because we use placeholders, right? But please still do not use DB query, at least if you are thinking about moving to Drupal 9, where it's going to be just deprecated. No, not even deprecated, but removed. Yeah, thank you. So how we can protect our sites? Again, you can use Drupal 7 DB query. Even in Drupal 8, still I wouldn't recommend it because in Drupal 8 it's already deprecated, and in Drupal 9 it will be removed. Always use database API and always filter all the parameters. For checking the queries in code, that's basically the easiest way to make sure there is no SQL injection. Use that username apostrophe and 1 equal 1 pattern from inputs, even in a URL as a get parameter, or make some curl requests via post. There are some other codes. I love code. Okay, I don't tell you what is the problem or what can be the problem here, just see the code. So we use a generate password, and we want to iterate on all the items. So basically we are iterating 8 times, and we call on the allowable characters an empty rand, which is like a PHP built-in solution for randomization. And we are building up a password like this. What can go wrong here? If you think about passwords, how randomization happens in PHP, is it good with the empty rand? What do you think? At this moment, I lost everyone. Great. So it's red. The empty rand is the problem, because it should be something really randomized, such as calling CPU. And what Drupal random bytes do is basically going down to the CPU and calling a real randomized, not using empty rand. Empty rand could be used if you just want to make a hash, for instance, which is protected enough, but please just avoid using it. We are in 2019, there are better solutions. I show you another one where basically we are a little bit getting back. I don't know, someone from this area said with the permissions for a 404 page. Here are permissions, such as administer custom module. So you can imagine it happens, I mean the whole code happens in a custom code base, right? Using administer custom module is kind of like something custom that we define in the permissions YAML, and we are basically just protecting that URL by this administer custom module permission. Is it okay like this? You would change something, or what do you think about it? Is it green or red? Okay, there are some greens. There is another green. No one disagree? Okay, great, thanks. Thanks for the support, yeah. The thing is, when you said like both and got confused, here we are. So it's like, what? The thing is, we are missing something over there. where the green arrows are. What is restricting that permission? So if we create, and that's the perfection itself, if we create a custom but especially administer permission, we should use always, especially in contrib modules, this restrict access parameter. Set it to true because by default it's false. So nothing protects us basically. Don't overthink this restrict access. So it doesn't really do anything else, just like marking that permission on the permission, that super long and super heavy page, marking it like do not give it to untrusted user also. It doesn't really do anything else, but still it raises some awareness, right? If we have this code, and I think that's the very last one, code, we have the permission administer site configuration here, which is a Drupal core permission. So it's not something that we figured out. It really does exist. Anything can go wrong with using administer site configuration here. Or do we need, again, something more customized, something like protecting it somehow? It's a setting form, so maybe administer site configuration might not be the best solution here. What are the colors? I always see colors. There are green. Ooh, you are still confused. Okay. There is a red. Very good. Anyone else wants to vote for this code? That's the last time, huh? Enjoy. Okay. No. So red. What do you think? What could go wrong here?
This is a generic site configuration permission in Drupal 8, and it will allow users to do a lot of other things as a part of this permission.
That's right. That is super right. The thing is, when you use administer site configuration, think from the other side. So if a path has this permission, do not think the other millions of paths that has the same, but think about only this one, saying I am protecting that path, that URL by this permission, which is given by Drupal core. So it's going to be green because in Drupal core it's set to restrict access. Administer site configuration, and there are like 4 or 5 others, such as administer views, administer permissions. Those are set by default as restricted ones. So I wouldn't say always use this, especially in custom code base. Define your own and follow a correct path. So fully agree with you. But if you still use it, or if you see it in a contrib module, then it's going to be fine, considering Drupal security team advises.
Yeah, but basically this one is the one that prevents you from installing custom code.
Yes, it
So
does.
if you've got this, you own the site already. So it's restricting it to like configure only the custom module. It doesn't really add much. However, and this is why I also gave red, it's way better for the point of view of ACL syncing, like you were saying. If you can say, okay, yes, if you have administer site configuration, you will be allowed to configure to access this, but maybe you've got, I don't know, like that thing is for I don't know, like social media, and you want to give permission for the social media editor to be able to change which Twitter account.
Then, of course, do not use this permission.
Because here you'd be giving it access to install modules.
Come with me to Minsk, and I'm going to change it again to the confused red, green, yellow, whatever. But very good points, both of you. Thank you. So who is awesome? Okay, cats. What we got in Drupal 8, and also it will go further in Drupal 9, even though Drupal 9 will be just like yet another Drupal 8 version, sort of. There are many, many ways how I personally also, as a security researcher, suggest highly to use Drupal 8, because it's way more secure. Peter Wolonin, who is member of the Drupal security team, had a session in Vienna, DrupalCon, like 2 years ago, 1.5, let's say, when he presented this, and I'm going to share the slides later on with all of you, and you will see the full presentation that he gave. And what I would just highlight, those are a few that I also wrote, but one of the best is finally the PHP format is gone. So like, not even by misconfiguration you can give it to an untrusted user role and it will just mess around everything. Also, we got automated cross-site request forgery, token protections, clickjacking protections we got by core. Do not forget to mention the tweak templates finally for HTML generation and many other things that makes Drupal 8 one of the best of Drupals. What you can do to raise your awareness for writing more secure code is basically learning by advisories. Every Wednesday here in Europe, usually at the evening or even a little bit later at night, we get these advisories Wednesdays, right? The thing is, you most probably just take a look, okay, moderately critical, I don't care, tomorrow is the working day. This is fine. But what I would highly suggest, next day, spend like 5-10 minutes, because you always see what has happened with that given contrib module and learn by it. Try to figure out how that issue could have been reported, for instance. How someone as a researcher found out that, for instance, XSS can be exploited. Do not do that. Please do not publish proof of concepts or even exploits, please. But the thing is, you can learn out of the advisories because code is given. We are in open source, right? And also, if you see anyone at any Drupal camps or cons or events or anywhere, usually they wear a white hat, a white baseball hat now. That's the new one. Just tell them a thanks or like hug them or say like, you do a great job. Because Drupal security team is a volunteer-based team. They are about 30 people, 32, 3 about, and they protect us a lot. Every single Wednesday when we see the advisories, it requires them for lots of hours to coordinate and to make it happen. The thing is, advisories, security advisories, only given to stable modules. So if your contrib is, let's say, in a beta, alpha, or any other Greek letters version, it's not going to be protected. If there is a security issue with a beta version or with a beta module, I would say, then if someone reports a security issue in the private issue queue, it's going to just go to the public one. That's why we want to build up stable modules, right? To be protected, to be under that umbrella by the security team. And also, only the modules are having that protection by them, which are hosted on Drupal.org. So, or nowadays GitLab. But if you just have a contrib, which you call a contrib, and it's hosted natively on GitHub, it's never going to get any advisories. So it can be really nasty. It's like custom module for the security team members. And please, because I saw a few hands in the very beginning, maintainers, if you are contacted, then show some nice things. Be supportive. These people, these folks from the security team wants to make sure all our code are enough safe and vulnerability free. Even though sometimes they don't agree on things, such as using administer site configuration as a permission that protects functionality on a website. They will always say, this is not a vulnerability, which I personally, as a security guy, don't always agree with. So there are sometimes some back and forth saying, because there is everything reported and clearly stated, for instance, for that permission, then we don't consider it as a vulnerability, period. There are things that you might consider as a next step in your DevSecOps or any kind of pipeline. which helps you to make all your code more secure, such as security review module, also using SimplyTest.me. Password policy is just a great way to raise awareness on how passwords should be expired, how they could be set up, and also Encrypt, Composer, Security Checker, and many other things. What I would also suggest is to give a try for free or use it as a monitoring system, Dropguard. It's basically a commercial product that has automation and that can save you lots of time, but at least if you use it for free as a monitoring system, then you will be already aware of what type of modules are not in safe status. I'm just getting in the very end of the session. I'd like to let you know, even though it's tomorrow, I know, and it's not even here but in the Netherlands, we will have a full day security event for all open source things, starting with infrastructure security, also going to encryption and all this nice stuff. That's going to be officially the second Secos Day, and there will be a third, and it seems a fourth is already under planning. Yeah, it's just a great event. Many friendly people talk about security awareness. And there is another one, which I also wear, and Flor is somewhere maybe doing some surf stuff, wears a t-shirt. Please come to Cluj. That's going to be in this year the Drupal Developers Day, anyway, Dev Days, DDD, in Transylvania, which is going to be an awesome event for the whole week between 10 and 14th June, so kind of like in a month. And if you have any questions, not only the cat, but also I am waiting for that. Please. You can still find me in the next few hours, then I'm going to go to the Netherlands. So thank you.